So Crystals, Colville. So if we rewind a little bit, tell me about how you got to know about Crystals and the owners and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so if people don't know what Crystals in Colville is, it is the nightclub that the Emporium is now, where Passion has been for the last 25 years. However, before that, there was a club called Crystals in Loughborough.
Yeah.
And Marc and Eric, who own that, had bought another nightclub in Colville, and which they opened it up, refurbished it, called it Crystals as well, and started to put some commercial nights on there. And I used to come back from, each time I came back from my winter, I used to come and do some dance segments. So I wouldn't be the commercial DJ all night long. I would come in and just do the mixing bit, and I'd do the dance bit, and then I'd go off and party at Venus in Nottingham. Yeah. Right, so I'd come in at 11 o'clock, go and do the dance bit of the night, because the other guys couldn't really mix, and then I'd go, thank you very much, right, I'm going to drive over to Nottingham and go mental over at Venus Nottingham, listening to Pete Tong and all the other people, and Boy George,
the best
and
of
all
both
of that.
worlds then.
Yeah,
Clubbing
it was.
And doing the DJ.
It was brilliant at the time. But so I did that for a while, and then Crystals in Colville had its honeymoon period, so to speak. The place was obviously still very shiny, called Crystals and whatever, but the numbers were consistently dropping at that particular time. And I think we're getting them down to about 200 every Friday and Saturday. And I used to go and do some stuff on a Sunday night over there as well. So I sort of became part of the team, and I did some of their stuff in Buster's in Loughborough, which was another bar we did. Which used to do a £1 a pint night on a Wednesday with a quiz night down there. Do you remember you see that? Which was brilliant. £1 a pint. There's something about cheap and free drinks. It keeps.
It was Foster's, I think, from memory. Foster's.
Yeah, it was £1 a pint, wasn't it?
That was
start of the Champions League on a Wednesday night.
Was it 20p? No, a pound. It was a pound a pint. Yeah, £1 a pint.
That's where we met Sam. Anyway, so the numbers were dropping over there, and there was conversations. Mark wanted, Mark Walsh had been to quite a few dance places and whatever, and there was conversations going about, and I thought it was a really good venue to hold a dance, and everybody got talking, and people said, why don't we look at doing some dance nights down here? So I think that's when Mark and Eric decided to progress it a bit further. They knew that how much I loved the dance music. I mean, I was going to Venus at the time, so I was going over there every single week. In fact, I used to go over there before it was Venus. It was called the Club. So we used to be the first ones in. I was one of them at the door to go and see all the now big stars. You had Pete Tong, we had Al McKenzie at the time, we had there was Boy George, Jeremy Healy, and all of those people, John Please Women, Danny Rampling. They all used to come and play at this tiny little 400 capacity venue in Nottingham, and that opened up the world to me. It was just like complete new world of dance music, because you'd go out into a normal club in Nottingham and you'd have to wear a double-breasted suit at the time to get in the door. Well, this was, you relax. Not saying it was state of the art. It was just relax. You were a little bit more casual. You could wear trainers to get in somewhere, and it just became really special. So that was about the time. We've been doing that for a couple of years. When I come back every single winter, that they decided to look at doing something dancey at the Emporium.
So it's a bit of a totally change of music from like the commercial stuff to the dance. It's a bit of a gamble, I guess.
Yes, it was.
Compared to what what was around at that time. So I understand that you played the very first record.
Not at the dance one. Not the first dance one, because they got what's his name? The guy from London. I can't remember his name. Anyway, they got this guy. They went and met with some promoters from London. I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name.
He'll come back.
Yeah, and they done a deal to try and get Todd Terry in, and they spoke to some guys, and he did Club UK, and so they asked him to come up and say put this one night on with Todd Terry on, and there was a lot of different guys that were all on this night. So me and my crowd, we all came over, and that was the very first night. I think it was a Friday night, and they got Todd Terry in, they hired a sound system in, they built a stage and got it all ready. And I think the club did about 700 on that night. And from that, then they decided to start a night called Passion.
Right.
So
that was kind of a tester.
That was to see how it was,
how it'd be received.
which was pretty thingy thinking, because they decided then straight away, 2 weeks after, to start up Passion, and got the flyers out for that almost within that time, and booked some DJs. So there's a bit of pre-planning that went on behind the scenes to say, right, this is what we're going to do, we're going to transform it. But they must have realised they got the interest up for this night with Todd Terry on. And then we started the Passion night on, I think it was March the 11th, I think it was. 1995, yeah, and I did play the first record there, and it was Alison Limerick on that very first night, and I'll never forget putting that record on that first night, and my job was to play an hour.
Right.
That was it. I played.
Why that record?
It was just massive for me at the time.
Massive, full stop, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know why, but it was just huge.
So, was the DJ box where it is currently?
Yes. Exactly. Well, it is. It's slightly been moved because it was rebuilt when a few years ago and got taken down and put back up again. But it's effectively in exactly the same place.
And your feeling?
Yeah.
Can you remember? Stood there, a room.
Chris Hall.
Held.
That was his name. Chris Hall. Right.
Okay.
And before that, pre to that, right, in the scene, which DJs were hot, this, that, and the other, and we spent hours and hours and hours on the phone, and he'd go, and then eventually, I just remember standing in my little house in Mount Sorrel, on the end of a phone line. There was no mobile phones back in them days. On the end of the phone line, which is in the kitchen, and they'd been on to me for hours, and then he says, "Okay, well, we're going to give you the residency, and then you're going to start." And that was it. That was my yes moment. It was and I distinctly remember running around the house going, yes. And it was that moment that I'd come from, where I'd come from with all the commercial stuff that I've been doing, to that moment I actually considered myself to be like, got a residency in a respectable dance venue, and that to me meant the world. It was just an incredible moment, and that's why, with all the enthusiasm that I had at the time, I just went for it. So that first record you played did an hour, but I hung around all night long. I was one of them that if any DJs were late, oh, go on, I've got the records here, 10 minutes, come on, okay, they're it, alright, okay. I was
you're kind of sometimes going, just be late, stuck in traffic. So you get that 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
But you never know, because no text messaging.
No.
There's no like, I'm going to be late, or WhatsApp or messages or whatever.
Nothing.
It was seriously like, we didn't know whether they were coming. Clubbers never knew they were going to turn up. They were going to turn up on time, whether they'd be in a fit state. Some of the DJs didn't turn up in the right fit state to actually play some of the time. So so that was it was heady days. So having that and obviously all of my crowd that we used to go out with, they all came down, and it just sort of built from there. But Passion wasn't an overnight success to start with. It took a good 6 to 8 months to get off the ground. We had an initial sort of like honeymoon period, a bit like the Crystals type, and they was thinking about pulling it, and it was only down to really Mark and Eric's tenacity of how to actually keep things and get things going. That
so what did they do to go, right, we need to change something?
It was going out into the hairdressers, because you had to get the information to the clubbers out there. So what we would do, we'd go to hairdressers in the shops in the town, because that's where people pick up the flyers in those days. You couldn't go to
no Facebook or no online shop,
all record shops, and you go this, that, the other. So you had to pick up to find out who was on, and what they did, and all the cool clothes shops, was give a guest list to the people at the clothes shop. Oh, where are you going Saturday? Oh, I'm going here. So people that were cool and in the know, they would go, I'm going to Passion on Saturday, because they've got a free guest list. Right, okay, I can get you in the guest list. Come with me. And it sort of just grew, and it networked very much like social media does these days, but it was less instant. It was more organic and word of mouth. So it was hard work for them to start with, and obviously at that point I wasn't part of the promotional teams. I was there in the background. I was always wanting to do something, always wanted to be, I'll get the ice, I'll do this, I'll do that, and I was just enthusiastic to do anything. But it was hard work for them, and I think over the first 6 months they lost a considerable amount of money to try and get it going. So hats off to them, guys.
Yeah,
well done.